Text appears next to clip art of a computer and a smartphone. PubCast, taking old school card games digital. Kevin Binkley, NeuralPlay. See how website creators and app developers turned their passions into profit. Google.
Welcome to PubCast, a podcast by Google that explores the stories of website creators and app developers who turned their passions into profit. I'm Gigi Grimes, and today we'll hear how Kevin Binkley, CEO and founder of NeuralPlay, is using AI to teach classic card games and help users up-level their game. Kevin is a serial entrepreneur and has started and sold several gaming companies throughout his career.
Could you introduce yourself with your name and title?
Yes, my name is Kevin Binkley, and I'm founder of NeuralPlay, LLC.
Awesome. Do you want to tell us a little bit about NeuralPlay?
Yes, sure. NeuralPlay is a software developer for Android apps. We make Android apps for card and board games. We currently have about 11 of them, including Hearts, Spades, Bridge, and the most popular one currently is Bridge.
Awesome. And you started playing games throughout your whole life. Can you tell us about, is it something you did with your family growing up? How did you get into kind of playing these games?
Mostly just friends. Originally in junior high school, I found that I liked chess. So I started playing chess and I got active in tournaments. And then eventually in junior high school, I stopped chess and got into bridge, which is kind of odd. Contract bridge is not normally played by younger players.
Yeah.
But I was one of the fewer ones competing in tournaments there too. And then after bridge, I played in college, Hearts, Spades, and all the other games. So I've pretty much played most of these games all my life.
Wow. What drew you to bridge?
I think the randomness and the challenges thinking through the possible plays of all the cards. Chess is a game where you know all of the pieces and where they are at all times. It's perfect information. Whereas bridge, you don't really know what cards your opponents have, but you're given a dummy where the cards are partially exposed. And the bidding gives you some information about the hand too. So you get estimates of what all the other players have, and you can predict what the best play is, but it's not always right. So it's more fun in a way than chess. It's a different type of fun.
Yeah. That's super interesting. And you have, your user base is pretty strong and significant. You know, you've mentioned thousands of users, even 5 to 10. To me, that seems like a lot of people. Did you ever think that it would get that big, or?
Well, actually, no, I did not. In the case of NeuralPlay Bridge, it's got over 500,000 downloads.
Wow.
So that one is the biggest, most popular bridge app out there that we have. And I'm very happy with the success of that one. The other apps like Spades have over 100,000, I think now.
Wow.
But some of the apps like Spades have been on the App Store since, say, 2011.
Yeah. Did you ever think that, the bridge community would be that big, of 500,000 people willing to play on their phone?
Actually, no, I didn't think about it at all. I just wanted to develop a bridge app, and that's probably one of the more fun things. I'm not really thinking about this. If people are using it and I'm having fun, that's great.
Yeah.
I could go to a bridge tournament and play for 8 hours and try to learn all the conventions and the play better. Or I could spend that 8 hours trying to make the program play better and then play against all those people indirectly.
Oh, that's an interesting way to frame it.
It's a challenge.
Yeah. So you consider yourself almost the AI that's playing all
almost,
these
but it's different from me, and in some ways it's better than me. It's more consistent.
Yeah.
I may miss something and I play inconsistently because I'm thinking better today, but not as good tomorrow. But the AI will always play the same way. In some ways it's better, in some ways it's worse, of course.
Yeah. That's really awesome. And you were in the competition circuit. What does that kind of look like?
I haven't been in the competition for since college, I guess, or so, when I stopped playing in the tournaments, because it generally takes a whole weekend.
Oh, wow.
When I played in chess tournaments, you'd play, say, 4 games in the whole weekend. You'd play 1 game in the morning for about 4 hours, 1 game in the afternoon for about 4 hours. And then the next day, you'd also do the same thing Sunday. You'd do 1 game for 4 hours, then another game for 4 hours. And then if you're lucky, you'd win the tournament or place somewhere.
Wow.
It's very time-consuming, but a lot of fun, too. That was great. And the bridge is similar. They play about 32 boards, I think. 32 boards in an afternoon or so, which might also be 4 hours. And then you can play again in the evening and do the same thing the next day too. So
yeah.
It's a lot of fun to meet a bunch of different people. Bridge is also more social than chess. That's one reason you play with 4 people, so I sort of like it better.
You got the friends all playing.
Yeah.
And when did you start creating like apps or software for these games?
At first, I tried when I was in high school and college. I thought, hey, great, I might be able to program a chess game. And I tried using brute force methods to estimate the next best move using alpha beta type searches. It's basically a big search tree. You go down and try to find the best move. If your opponent makes the best move, you make the best move, you can predict it, but it takes a lot of time. And that was many years ago when the computers weren't very fast and I wasn't quite as skilled of a programmer as I am now. I've learned a lot more. And I tried the same thing for bridge. You can do that if you assume you know all 4 hands. You can also do a search and try to find the best play if the hands are open. I did not succeed back then. That was college times. And then in about 1994, some friends and I decided we'd start a company to make card and board games online when the internet was taking off. And that was when the first time we actually made games online with some user interfaces and some very basic artificial intelligence so you could play against bots. But the main thing was playing with other people online.
And this was really like in the boom of the tech age. What was that like for you?
It was great and lucky at the same time. It was called the Internet Gaming Zone, and it took off. We got a lot of players, and then a few years later, Microsoft decided they liked it, and they purchased the Internet Gaming Zone. We moved up there and worked for Microsoft for a little bit.
Wow! Oh my goodness! Was that like the dream for you? Like, did you ever think that would happen?
I didn't think that would happen, but it was. We were very happy that it happened. And we got up there, and it was a lot of fun working with Microsoft, building more of the card and board games, and that became the Microsoft Gaming Zone.
Wow! Does that still exist?
It does right now, but in a very different format, of course. And I don't know if they still have card and board games up there.
Yeah, but that's interesting that it was you that really...
It was part of what we built.
Yeah.
The 3 of us founders did that.
That's awesome. That's super cool. And then after that, you started another company, correct?
Yes. In about 2011, one of the friends started that first company, and I decided to start a company called Fun Sockets to do HTML5 gaming. And we wanted to do the same thing, but we thought HTML5 was taking off in about 2011. And if we wrote our games once in HTML5, we would be able to run them on iOS, Android, and the web, and everything would work wonderfully. We got some funding.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting though that you were able to build it, and after selling one, you kind of continued to another. Do you consider yourself like an entrepreneur?
I do, in a way, yes. I do consider myself an entrepreneur. It's always been fun to do that. I like starting companies, I like building things, and I like having people use the software that I build. That's one of the great satisfactions is when the users write me an email saying, "Hey, thank you, I love this bridge game," or "Hey, I love this spades game." It's great. I mean, some of the emails aren't always nice. There's like the AI is not very good. Some of them aren't very nice, but most are really nice. I'm very glad I found this pitch game. I never knew I would find it. And that's satisfying in itself. Some of the games I have out there on NeuralPlay right now, they have less than 10,000 users, maybe less than 5,000, because they're not very popular card games. They're very small niche games. But there is a community out there that maybe I didn't even know existed. Maybe it's in like some small place in East Virginia or something. They're telling me about these rules, the way they play the game of pitch, and I'm like, well, I guess I could add that one little feature for them. So some of the games that are on NeuralPlay now have a lot of different options.
Oh, really?
That you can play. So you can customize it to almost any game of that genre you'd like. That's one of the fun things.
That's awesome. So it's all user feedback from like, this is how we play in my region?
Many of it is. I get some of the information from Wikipedia because some of it's documented there with all the different possible variants. But sometimes a user will come up and say, I play this particular variant. And I go, oh, okay. Yeah, we can add that. So it's very helpful.
Yeah. It's interesting to see where games are popular kind of in the world. So do you want to talk a bit about like what you've kind of seen and learned?
Sure. The games are surprisingly popular in different countries. And looking at some of the data as to where users come from, you can find out new markets, I guess. Mm-hmm. In my case, bridge surprised me that most of the users were actually coming from India. Contract bridge. But then thinking about that, India was a previous colony of England, so I guess India bridge is actually popular. And that's great. I'm very happy to do that. So that means I might want to consider localizing my bridge app in Hindi or some of the other languages there, but that would be a lot of work. So I'm probably not going to do that in the near future.
Yeah. Do you see a lot of users from the global audience, or is it mainly just in the US?
Most of the users are globally because the number of users outside the U.S. is much more than the number of users in the U.S.
That's interesting.
But ad revenue is actually mostly in the U.S., I think, because of the difference in, I guess, ad prices.
Yeah. The games like these really require like a lot of logic and thought and learning and training. And it's interesting that it's actually like a really productive way to spend your time in a lot of senses. And then even take it offline and play with other people. You know, like you think of card games and board games as going almost extinct right now, you know, like not a lot of families or people are still playing them.
Unfortunately, that's true.
Yeah, but this is a real way to kind of keep that connection and keep that alive.
I'm hoping that it stays alive and it actually becomes bigger. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping to build the market, but you are right. The average age is probably going up for card game players, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because of video games.
Yeah.
The younger crowd plays more of those.
But I do think that creating these connections and having people, you know, be able to play them wherever they are or something like that can bring it back almost in a lot of ways. Is that why to keep like the whole gaming industry, like card game and board game industry alive, is that why you keep creating like gaming apps and companies? In that sense?
I think it's because that's my expertise.
Mm-hmm.
I have the programming knowledge and I have the gaming knowledge for these particular card games. And that combined allows me to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I happen to have acquired the card gaming knowledge while in high school and college. So I think the reason I'm doing card and board games over and over again is because I like them a lot and I have the expertise built in.
Yeah. Is that what keeps you motivated, or? What
keeps me motivated is getting great feedback from people saying, "Thank you, I love this game," and seeing users. I know people using them.
Mm-hmm.
That's really satisfying.
Yeah. Do you have any piece of feedback that you like always remember? Like, that's why I do it.
Now, I do remember one a few years ago. Some person from the mid-U.S. wanted to play the game Bidwist, and she was not able to read the cards very well.
Mm-hmm.
So she asked if I could do the reader features for Android. Android has a way to read voice of all the stuff on your phone. And so I said, okay, that's kind of a challenge. I mean, it's probably not a large market, but I also like learning new things and learning new programming skills.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked into how to do that voiceover feature. So if you tap one of the cards, it will actually read the card to you. There is some extra programming you have to do for that, but it wasn't too much.
Yeah.
And that was a nice challenge.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really interesting. I know like you use AdMob on your apps.
Yes.
How did you find that, or like was that even on your radar? How did that happen?
Back in like 2011 when I did the first game, Reversi, I think, I said, well, okay, I just had fun. I wanted to showcase a neural network that I had developed, and I thought it was appropriate for phones because neural networks don't require very much power. They're not doing depth-first searches.
Mm-hmm.
And I built that Android app, and then I said, well, oh, look, there's something called AdMob. I'll just toss it in there. It was easy banner ads and see if I'd get any revenue. And it got a little bit of revenue, but that's basically how I started using AdMob, and I've been using it ever since.
And you build all of these just like in your spare time, or
yes,
how does it work? Wow.
Yes. Between jobs, while doing research, I built these games, and all the games are very similar. Mm-hmm. And if you download a couple of them, you'll notice that they all have the same features. The AI will watch over your shoulder and suggest a card play. The same undo feature. Mm. I've built them in a modular manner such that it's not very difficult to add another game. If the game is a 4-player card game that is trick based, that type of stuff.
Interesting. What do you mean by trick-based?
You play 4 cards in front and you collect those 4 cards. So bridge, hearts, and spades are all that type.
Oh, okay.
But there are other games that may not be trick-based, like, say, Crazy Eights. I mean, it's a simple kids game, but it would require more work. And I would still be able to reuse a lot of the stuff I've already written, but it's not already there.
Yeah.
The user interface looks the same on pretty much all 10 of these games.
Yeah. Huh. Have you learned any new games through like people writing in or
actually, yes,
exploring? Huh.
That's a good question. Many of the games I've decided to develop have been from user suggestions.
Oh, really?
Because initially I had only hearts and spades, and I did bridge because I liked it, and then bid whist, and then users suggested things like whist and something like Oh Hell, which is a spades-like game, and then somebody suggested a game called 29, which is a very interesting one. And I'm like, I never heard of that one. And I looked it up on Wikipedia and stuff. It was a game from India. So surprised, a lot of the users were from India. So I said, okay, I guess I'll try to do it. It was a trick-based game. And that was the most recent one I did about 4 months ago.
Oh, that's super cool.
And depending on the difficulty of the game, it takes about 3 to 5 months to get a new game in my spare time.
Wow. Yeah. So one area that I find like really interesting is you mentioned like obviously card games are really complicated and all the rules and the logic behind it.
Yeah.
And you've built like an AI to play that.
The Monte Carlo AI is basically a simulation-based AI. The AI will count the cards perfectly throughout the whole game, what have been played, what it knows about the game from the bidding, and from in Pinochle there's meld where you show, it's sort of like rummy where you show some of your hand out. It will memorize all those things, which are very difficult for some of us humans to do. Pros will do it, but I won't right now. And it knows that, so it knows approximately what everyone has in their hands. The unknown cards may only be, say, 12 unknown cards out of 52. It will then deal the unknown cards out randomly, and it then has an open hand it can play with all 52 cards face up. It can then use simulation or to play to the end of that hand and find the result. It will do that many times for each legal play, and then it will choose the legal play that had the best average result. And I find that gives better play than the expert system that I built initially. So I have both types of AIs in the games.
Wow.
That plays very fast. The Monte Carlo one may require, say, 1,000 deals of random cards, of 12 random cards out. The other 40 are already known. It will try that 1,000 times, and it will try each card. If there's 13 possible cards from your hand, it could take a long time. So there's a balance there. That's why I did both of them. Plus, the Monte Carlo one can use the other one as a simulation to get an estimate for the end result if the cards are known face up. Not sure if that makes too much sense.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. And I think it's interesting, like you're really at this intersection of something, this hobby that you love and like games and stuff, but you also grew up in Silicon Valley and like the tech hub, which almost seems to really like, in my mind, it's like, that makes total sense that you would have, tried to build something and use programming and technology. Yeah. How much influence do you think that had on you, like growing up here and kind of seeing these companies?
I think that was very important because growing up here allowed me to see Apple as it was getting started and be around all those people that were developing computers and software. And it naturally gave me the interest in that stuff. Had I grown up somewhere else, I probably would have developed an interest in something else that was there.
Yeah. It's super interesting. I always wish I grew up in the Bay Area because you really see the entrepreneurial mindset, people taking what they're doing to the next level.
Yeah, it's also interesting here in that pretty much everywhere I go, I can run into other engineers and softwares or in the coffee shops.
Yeah.
You don't find that in other places.
Yeah, no, it is. It's an interesting place to be, and it's really cool that you've been able to kind of be a part of it and really participate in a lot of the growth here. How do you see kind of NeuralPlay growing and evolving, as industries change? And
I think just adding more games and more features to the games. Currently, I'm working on adding more bidding systems and bidding methods to Bridge, since that's the most popular game by far. I may add some more games as users suggest more of them. I'm also looking into going online to allow people to play on web browsers. That would be important. Currently, the apps are only available on Android, which is a limitation because a lot of users are asking, can I play it on my PC? Can I play it on the web? Can I play it on iOS? And unfortunately, currently, I have to say, no, sorry, we're working on that.
Is there any moment that you consider like your greatest success?
I'd say choosing to do bridge was probably the biggest success and surprise. I didn't expect that to take off so well, but I think it's now like number 1 or number 2 on the Android store in bridge if you're looking for it.
Yeah.
And that's also very important because that gets more downloads. When people search for it, it's up there. So that I'm very happy with.
Yeah. And it's nice because bridge is one of your favorite games.
And that's probably one of the reasons why it's doing pretty well because I spend a lot more time doing it.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites.
That connection, that sort of passion for the game has really enabled the game to be better. It's been great to hear everything from you, and you have such an interesting story. It's been really cool to hear about the games in your life. It's just awesome. Yeah.
Thank you. It's been great talking to you.
Yeah. Thanks so much for coming in. All right, so that was Kevin Binkley from NeuralPlay. You can download all of his gaming card game apps in the Android Play Store.
Did you find this episode enjoyable? Let us know your thoughts and comments at g.co/toxicgoogle/pubcast. If you're interested in how AdSense or AdMob can help you grow your business, check out the links in the show description.